What if I told you that understanding the invisible connection that ties everything together could be the key to mastering manifestation? Greetings from Jaden Easton, welcome forward, in part 1 of this reimagining of Thomas Troward's Edinburgh Lectures on mental science. We dove headfirst into spirit versus matter, learning that your mind isn't just sitting there doing nothing. Nope, it's out there, pulling the strings and shaping reality like it's some kind of cosmic puppeteer. We also got a peek behind the curtain. And spoiler alert, what you think is pretty much everything. But that was just the warm-up. Now we're cranking it up a notch in part 2, the unity of spirit. Yeah, you heard me. This is where things start to get real. We're talking about how everything, yes, everything, is connected by one big cosmic Wi-Fi signal. And guess what? You've got the password. Ready to figure out how to use this universal connection to unlock your true potential? Well, get ready, because we're about to dive into the deep end of the cosmic pool. And don't worry, no lifeguard is needed. You've got this. I want you to imagine for a moment that life is a grand, elegant staircase. And at the top, you've got us humans, self-aware, full of willpower, constantly making decisions, and trying to shape the world around us. But as you go down the staircase, right, the intelligence starts to fade. And by the time you hit the basement, you're hanging out with rocks and other inanimate objects that are just sitting there, totally oblivious to their own existence. It's like going from a Nobel Prize winner to that guy who still thinks the earth is flat. Yeah, you're not exactly on the honor roll anymore, bud. Take a moment to think about where you see yourself on this grand staircase of life right now. Are you fully aware of your potential? Or are you still discovering how powerful you are? Recognize this. The more complex and more advanced the life form is, the higher it ranks in intelligence. So if there's a fundamental principle of life, it must be the ultimate source of intelligence, the mastermind behind everything. This principle isn't just some abstract idea. It's an all-encompassing force that governs every aspect of existence. And we'll call this divine law, but some may prefer cosmic intelligence. Whatever makes you feel more like a Jedi, Divine law is the foundational truth that underlies all creation. A living, breathing force that flows through every atom, every thought, and every action. It's the blueprint of reality itself, meticulously shaping and guiding everything we experience, from the grand movements of the cosmos to the smallest intricate details of our daily lives. Divine law is God's way of ensuring that everything operates in harmony according to the perfect and unchanging order. But here's the key. Recognizing divine law isn't just about understanding that it exists. Oh no. It's about understanding our place within it. Every thought, every action we take is like a thread in the larger tapestry of life, impacting not just ourselves, but the entire world around us. And this awareness brings with it a profound moral responsibility. To live in alignment with this divine law is to align our choices with the greater good, to act with integrity, knowing that we're a part of a vast, interconnected system that thrives on harmony. Now, thanks to modern science, we're all pretty familiar with the concept of evolution. And it's clear that everything in the universe is so well tuned that trying to force a square peg into a round hole just wouldn't fly. Every time science uncovers something new, it's like finding another hidden Easter egg in this grand cosmic video game. God has already put all these intricate connections and systems in place. All we need to do is simply recognize them so we can level up our understanding, and maybe even our lives. So if the greatest minds throughout history have spent their time recognizing this divine order that's been there all along, it's hard to escape the conclusion that there's a super intelligent mind behind it all. God. In other words, the universe isn't just making it up as it goes. There's a genius level plan in motion, and we're all a part of it. You and me. To better illustrate this, let's take a trip down memory lane. Like way back to when our planet was just a hot mess, literally. We started off as a massive cloud of space dust and gas, just floating around aimlessly in the cosmos. Then, over time, this cloud pulled itself together, and voila, we get a shiny new sun and a bunch of planets. But even then, Earth was still kind of a work in progress, like a cake that hadn't fully baked yet. Fast forward through a few billion years of geological slow cooking, and finally the first forms of life started to pop up. It wasn't anything fancy, just some basic plants and little critters. But from those humble beginnings, life kept moving forward, slowly but surely, until we got to the world we now know today. It's like watching the ultimate slow motion montage of progress. When you step back and you look at this epic journey, it becomes obvious that evolution serves a very specific purpose. No matter how you slice it, the process is designed to keep life moving forward, one way or another. And how does it do that? Think about it. Well, primarily by playing the numbers game. God makes sure that there's a ton of each kind of life form, just in case some of them don't make it. Because let's be real, accidents happen. It's like God saying, I care about the species, but if a few individuals don't make it, that's how it goes. I can't protect absolutely everyone. Basically, divine law runs on a law of averages, giving life plenty of room to stumble and fall, but still ensuring that the overall race keeps going strong. As life gets smarter, it also gets better at dodging the whole oops, you didn't make it game. Instead of relying on sheer numbers to ensure survival, evolution starts focusing on quality over quantity. Kind of like trading in a giant buffet for a gourmet meal. We all know what's better. Scientists call this survival of the fittest. But really, it's just nature's way of saying, hey, let's give the best and the brightest a better shot at making it and propagating the species. Take fish, for example. They're like nature's overachievers when it comes to reproduction. They churn out so many offspring that if every single one survived, the world's oceans would be standing room only. But of course, most of them don't make it. So the law of averages keeps things in check. Now compare that to humans. Sure, plenty of us don't make it to old age due to accidents, diseases, but the scale is just way different. As intelligence increases, we're less at the mercy of chance and more in control of our own survival. So here's the deal. There's a big difference between the intelligence that runs the universe, divine law, and the intelligence that we as individuals have. The thing that sets us apart is this little feature called individual volition, which is just a fancy way of saying we can make our own choices. Now, mental science is all about figuring out how our power to make choices fits in with the big divine game plan that keeps life moving forward. And here's the kicker. This ability to choose isn't just some random thing. It's actually the peak of what evolution has been working towards all along. Nature has been on an upward climb since day one, starting with the simplest of life forms and gradually leveling up until it created us. Beings with minds that can think abstractly and brains that can handle all this mental action. At this stage, the life principle, which is just God doing his thing, decided it was time to create something that could actually recognize and understand the laws of evolution that got us here in the first place. That something is us. And our job is to bring a new ingredient into the mix, intelligent individual volition. Up until now, evolution has been on autopilot, guided by the law of averages, without us even realizing it. But now that we're leading the charge, if humanity is to keep evolving upwards, it's going to require some conscious effort on our part. This is where the stakes get higher. where evolution is no longer just about survival, but about thriving, about deliberately shaping our future. Conscious effort means actively choosing to align with these divine principles, understanding that our thoughts and actions are no longer just reactions to the world around us, but are actually tools for creating it. This big shift from being passive participants to active co-creators of our reality is a monumental step in our collective and personal evolution. But with this power comes a significant responsibility. As we step into the role of co-creators, we must consider the impact of not only our choices, but the choices that impact the broader world around. In other words, are we creating a reality that benefits, everyone or just ourselves? Our actions must reflect this awareness that we're shaping a future not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come. So ask yourself and think about it. How do you consciously choose your path right now, and how much do you just leave to chance? What could you change if you took full control of your personal evolution? There's a great saying that nature will work with you as much as you work with nature. It's kind of like electricity. The potential for it has always been around, even when cavemen were out there discovering fire. Electricity was buzzing in the background, so to speak, just waiting to be harnessed. But it wasn't until we figured out the basic laws of how electricity worked that we could actually harness it and use it. If you try to fight these laws, you're not going to get anywhere, right? Like trying to start a fire with wet wood. But once we understood how electricity operates, we didn't just use it, right? We became its master, directing it to power everything from your smartphone to entire cities. Now, the same goes for your life. Align yourself with divine law, and you can tap into the power that's been there all along. Once you understand these principles, you can shape reality just like we learned to harness electricity to light up the world. Here's the thing. What really sets high intelligence apart from low intelligence is how well it knows itself. The smarter you are, the better you get at understanding who you really are. And with that understanding comes power. But this self-recognition isn't just about knowing your name or your role in society. It's about tapping into the essence of your being. It's about realizing that your true self is not just a solitary entity, but a reflection of the greater whole. When you can truly recognize yourself, you see that you are not separate from the world around you, but an integral part of the divine flow. This deeper understanding unlocks a power far greater than mere intelligence. It's the power to shape your reality in harmony with God's order, to become a conscious participant in the unfolding of life itself. At the basic level, self-recognition is like realizing, hey, I'm me, and everything else is not me. That's your ego doing its thing, separating you from the rest of the world. But when you level up, self-recognition turns into something deeper. You start seeing that your true self isn't just an isolated me, but rather a part of something bigger. You see other forms of life not as totally separate, but as different versions of yourself, your alter ego in a sense, just in a different outfit, if you will. This higher level of self-recognition is what gives mental scientists the juice to make things happen. And that's why it's crucial for them to get crystal clear on the difference between form and being. Form is all about the relative, the way things look and how they're affected by conditions. We talked about this a little bit in part 1. Being, on the other hand, though, right, is the absolute. It's the truth that stands above all conditions and has the power to shape them. Now, when you start recognizing yourself as an individualization of pure spirit, you automatically gain control over other forms of spirit that haven't quite caught up yet. These lower forms are stuck following the rules of their own being because they're not even aware that there's a rule book, a different way to play the game. But if you've leveled up to understand these laws, you can stroll in like you own the place and start running the show. After all, in a way, it's your show, isn't it? And you've got the VIP pass. You're the main character. To really get this, we need to dive a bit deeper into what we mean by spirit. Remember, we talked about how everything in the universe is perfectly adjusted and tuned to work together. thanks to divine law. So where does this intelligence hang out? Well, we can only imagine it being embedded in some kind of primordial substance, basically the stuff that everything else is made from. Whether we can see it or we just know it's there because of its effects. This substance is like the ultimate shapeshifter. It becomes whatever it needs to be for each species or individual. We can't think of it as something separate from spirit, though, because that would mean we'd need some other mysterious force to create both spirit and matter. And honestly, that just complicates things unnecessarily, and it wouldn't make sense. No matter how far back you go, you're going to hit this point where spirit is the original substance. There's no escaping this conclusion, containing everything within itself. And that brings us to the classic idea that spirit created everything out of nothing. It's like a cosmic math equation. Spirit and the addition of nothing to spirit leaves only spirit. If you're more math inclined, x plus 0 equals x. No matter how you slice it, you end up with spirit as the foundation of everything. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. The core of every bit of matter is actually spirit. That means there's an underlying intelligence embedded in everything around us. From the tiniest grain of sand to the most complex living being. But here's the catch. This intelligence doesn't fully show up in any particular form unless that form is built to recognize itself. It's like the intelligence is hiding in the background, waiting for the right setup, the right configuration to really strut its stuff. This hidden intelligence is what we can think of as atomic intelligence. Sure, the term might sound a bit sci-fi, but it works for our purposes here. Atomic intelligence represents the basic level of intelligence that's spread throughout all existence, acting as the foundation for everything. When our conscious minds, what we might call individual intelligence, tap into this atomic intelligence, that's when the real magic happens. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because of this. When our individual intelligence taps into this atomic intelligence, it's like plugging into God's power grid. This connection is what allows thought power to produce tangible results on the material plane. You see, atomic intelligence isn't just an abstract concept. It's the underlying force that governs everything, the blueprint of reality itself. When our thoughts align with this intelligence, they gain an extraordinary ability to shape the world around us. This alignment is the key to understanding how so-called, miracles and other mind over matter phenomena work. By syncing our individual thought energy with the vast reservoir of atomic intelligence, our intentions become amplified, capable of manifesting in ways that might otherwise seem impossible. It's not just positive thinking. It's not that simple. It's about consciously aligning with the laws and forces that God has structured the universe with. And when we do that, we're no longer just thinking, we're creating in a really powerful way and influencing reality in a profound way. Pause for a second and consider, how does recognizing this atomic intelligence change the way that you view your daily choices? What would shift in your life if you truly believe that every decision you make is for or against the grand divine plan? Moving on, intelligence shows itself through responsiveness. And the whole cosmic process of evolution has been one big intelligent conversation between different levels of being, constantly adjusting to make everything work just right. Now that we know this atomic intelligence is everywhere, we also know it can respond when we call on it. This responsiveness is key to mastering manifestation. The difference between someone who knows how to use this and someone who doesn't is huge. The mental scientist knows how to tap into this hidden intelligence and makes things happen, while the uninformed person misses out simply because they didn't know it was there. As we've seen, understanding and tapping into this hidden intelligence is like discovering the secret code that unlocks the full potential of life itself. But we're just getting started. If you think this is powerful, wait until we dive into part 3, where we'll explore how to consciously wield this intelligence in our everyday lives. Get ready to uncover the practical techniques that bridge the gap between understanding these principles and actually putting them into action. It's time to move from theory to practice, and the results might just blow your mind. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to dive even deeper into the mastery of mental science, go to betterthought.com and subscribe to my newsletter. Not only will you find bonus material to complement what you just learned, but you'll be notified as soon as the next video in this series is released. So go to betterthought.com now and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Until next time, Godspeed.